William Morrow and HarperAudio present The Other Side of the Door, a novel by Nicci French, performed by Imogen Church. After. I turned around and checked the door of the flat. It was closed. That wasn't enough. What if somebody arrived suddenly? What if they had a key? I pulled my sleeve over my hand so that I wouldn't touch it directly and, awkwardly through the cloth, grasped the bolt and slid it across as quietly as I could. The lights were all on, but the curtains still half open. I sidled round the wall until I reached the window, looking out to make sure nobody was standing in the dark street beneath before I closed them. Starting at the door, I gazed around the room, dispassionately, like a camera, moving my attention from object to object. There was a framed photograph on the wall. I had never seen it properly before. Now I realized that it was a swarm of blurry orange butterflies. On the small table were a phone, what if it rang, and a bowl with a small bunch of keys in it. Whose were they? His, probably. I needed to think about that. There was a comfy brown suede chair with the guitar case leaned against it. The guitar lay on the floor beside it, smashed through its centre, strings dangling in the splintered wood. I glanced away to the TV that I'd never seen switched on, and to the big striped sofa where we had... No. Don't remember. My scarf was draped across one arm where I had left it a couple of days earlier. I picked it up and wrapped it around my neck, where the violet bruise throbbed like a nasty memory. There was a bookshelf. The books, some of which had been scattered onto the floor, were all Liza's about art, design, a bit of travel. Liza was far from here, 1,000 miles away. On some of the shelves were objects and curios, little sculptures and pieces of pottery. A miniature brass Buddha, a green bottle with a silver stopper. Liza used to bring them back from abroad. There was a low cupboard along the far wall, and on top of it, a mini-stereo with a wire rack barely half full of CDs. They were Liza's too, all except one. I walked across and, with care, using my fingers like tweezers, picked up the Hank Williams CD I had brought the previous week. I opened the case. It was empty. Covering my hand with my sleeve again, I pressed the button on the CD player and the tray opened. There it was. I pushed my little finger into the hole, removed it, and returned it to the case. I put it on top of the stereo. I'd need to look for a plastic bag. A pine table that Liza used for working stood against the right-hand wall. The mail that had arrived in the week she'd been away was no longer in a pile, but spread out messily on the surface, and a few envelopes were on the carpet. On the table there was also a silver laptop, its lid closed, the power cable coiled neatly on top, a funny little green plastic tortoise for keeping pens, and a tin box full of paper clips and rubber bands. The chair that was usually beside it had fallen over. A vase lay next to it, its red tulips and water spilled out on the carpet, darkening it from the colour of pale barley to that of piss. Next to that, the body lay face down on the rug, arms splayed. It was the arms that showed he was dead, even more than the dark stain that had spread from under his head, really dark, more black than red. I thought of his open eyes, staring down into the roughness of the rug, his...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?